Hello, welcome in everybody. How's it going? It's me, Halfdork, your host for the SandStorm Meetup, Mondays, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. UTC. Thank you so much for joining us, and if you're watching the recap, either on Twitch or on YouTube, hi there, welcome. Hope you're able to learn a thing or two, and if you ever have questions, feel free to drop us a comment, whether it be on YouTube, Twitter, or even in our live streams. I personally stream on Twitch, so it's a great way to keep in contact with me and ask me questions, Halfdork. So, without further ado, on today's agenda, we're going to be learning about teleporting. So if you didn't know you could teleport in the Sandbox game, several games have used this specific type of mechanic as a way to get to a location faster, perhaps somewhere you've been to before in your own story-driven game. And so we're going to take a look at how that interaction is done behind the scenes. I'll be answering any questions you might have for me as a, I guess, Game Jam winning game developer. So feel free to, again, ask questions here in chat. And thank you, Slaterade, here helping with the show. And welcome in, everybody. So let's go ahead and get started with introducing teleportation. Later on in the show, we're going to be taking a look at how to get your custom NFTs, whether it's one that you've purchased on Opensea or one that you would like to showcase in some fashion in your game experience. I'm going to show you how to get that set up by the end of the stream. But for now, we're going to introduce teleporting. So where we will start is first setting up the locations we want. So I have the characters starting at this kind of like island or plateau. And this is one of the template maps that you can start with in the game maker itself. Sorry, I got like a hiccup. But we have this location, which we'll just label white for now, just based on the color of this lamp. We have a yellow location. And the first thing I'm going to do is add a spawning point. So this will be kind of like our reference, and our logic is all going to be pointing at this kind of asset. And so this lamp will also serve as kind of like a marker. We're also going to be making one for a green lamp. So this will be like our teleport green, just to introduce some message kind of ideas. And this will be our teleport red. So the first thing we want to take a look at is the behind the scenes and where all of this will be connecting. Hi, Cinzia, welcome in. Stepping High, how's it going? Wisem, welcome. Lordkin Wolf, how's it going? So, the first thing we'll start with is the controller page of the global parameters. So on the controller page, there's a section labeled components. And so as we kind of introduced behaviors and components in a previous episode, these are attached to the player. It basically tells the game, oh, the player has 1100 HP. Oh, the player is going to respawn at this location. Oh, the player can be instantly killed when this death message goes out. And so what we're going to be setting up is a way to tell the player, the avatar, you are going to respawn at this location. So interestingly enough, this used to be checkpoint. They used to use checkpoint as the tag, but we're going to use the default respawn tag. So capital R respawn. Whenever you're working with tags, it's very important to note capitalization, because it is all specific to what you're working on. It's basically like coding. So if you're behind the scenes coding, it is oftentimes using that capitalization to differentiate between different characters. So a capital R is not the same as a lowercase r in this specific scenario. So we want this respawn tag, and we're going to keep this in mind. So I went ahead and collect it, and then Control C to copy it. So our respawn tag, by default, is going to be this, and you can see the blue dot above it. This is the default respawn location whenever you start the game. It's your starting point. So around my map, I'm actually going to place some lava so that I can off myself a little bit easier for testing purposes. So we'll have little lava pools near all of our checkpoints. And then I'm going to briefly set up how to make this lava deal damage to us. Now that we have our lava, we can go back into that controller. So global parameters, controller, components, and we can add damaging blocks. So these blocks will damage specifically the player. We're going to select lava, and we'll make the lava blocks instantly kill us. Hey, welcome in, friends. Garnican's here, Hendro, Sparky Snickle, Escape Room Artist, welcome in. So, lava kills us if we step on it. Great. So if we die, after a 0-second delay, and one thing I would encourage you to test is finding a delay that works for you. Negative numbers actually are faster than 0. And so when we die, we're going to be sent here to the respawn tag. So if there is no respawn tag, we are defaulted to this location, our avatar portal. So what we're going to do is set up a way to spawn a respawn tag right here. So in order to do that, we're going to make this spawning point, so that's the name of the asset. We're going to remove the collisions, which is always beneficial, especially if we're going to be walking on it. So remove the collisions, and we're going to give it an asset spawner behavior. So this asset spawner is where things are going to start getting complicated, so feel free to slow down the video, pause it when you need to, but I'll go nice and slow. So we're going to spawn an asset. It doesn't matter what asset it is, but most people, especially getting started out, will use the number pad. So our number pad is going to spawn directly on top of our asset here. And in fact, I think we'll put it a little bit below. So let's try negative 0.5. So that's going to basically spawn our asset underneath the ground, so we don't see it. And because it's a number pad, we won't see the number pad. And so this number pad, when we spawn it, is going to have that capital R respawn tag. So our respawn is spawning, but we also want to give it a health component. And this is important later on when we start to spawn at other locations. So we removed all of the messages required to spawn our asset. And instead, the message required is going to be teleport.yellow. So we're going to set up this message as the way for us to respawn, aka teleport, at this location. Die pools, exactly, escape room. Wayward, what's up? Welcome in. I wish I could give you points, but what's fair is fair. Now, our respawn location has a health component. So a health component has a specific set of default settings. So let's take a look at those real quick. So by default, the health component is destroyed when the kill message is received. So by default, a kill message can basically kill anything with a health or a plant behavior. So health component, plant behavior. The kill command, as long as it is targeting that asset, and by targeting, I mean a tag. So you're going to want to tag each of these assets. As we saw, we tagged our number pad that is spawning with a respawn tag. And this is important for two reasons. One, we'll be able to kill it, sending a kill command specifically to the respawn tagged number pad. And two, because of this respawn tag, it tells the player, hey, I can respawn at this location. And so with the health component, we should also note that if someone dies or this specific asset dies, we can tell it to send a message. However, because we're using the asset spawner behavior, which we set up with our spawning point, this kind of manhole circle, we are unable to customize that health component. And so that is important to note. So we are unable to customize that. So that's why we need to use the default settings. So now what I want to do is when the character dies, the player, I want to send a message, kill, specifically to anything with the respawn tag. So this kind of allows us to skip adding extra assets that kill our respawn. So I kind of want to test this and we'll see if it works. But this is simplifying the process in a way. So with all that set up, what's happening behind the scenes, and I'll walk through it, is when the teleport.yellow message is sent out, we're going to be spawning this asset, a number pad switch, with the tag respawn. So when that happens, we're also going to kill the player. So by killing the player, I'm going to use this lamp right here, that when I interact with it, it's basically sending that kill command to the avatar, while also simultaneously creating a new spawn point. So that's what we set up on the opposite side of the map, was we created a new spawn point, but we also have to kill the player so they can spawn there. So we're going to be thus having a teleport. So let's start with the message. I'm going to interact with this yellow lamp here, and when I interact with it, it's going to say that message, teleport.yellow. And so talking to this is going to then spawn our number pad over here. And as we saw, the number pad has the respawn tag. There's one final piece to this puzzle, and that's why I added this white lamp here. So our white lamp basically is going to receive any of our teleport messages, and it's going to kill the player. So this is what's allowing us to teleport, is because we're dying and respawning in a new location. And so the avatar, I'll zoom in for you, and this is using a message broadcaster. So the main or the biggest difference with a message broadcaster and a message is a message broadcaster will allow you to receive multiple messages and then kind of bottleneck them to where it's sending out one message. And you can also send that one message to specific things, such as in this scenario, we want to send the kill message to the avatar, and we're going to do that only after we teleport to any of those teleports we're setting up. So I'm going to go ahead and make the messages here. So if teleport red, teleport green, then I'll also have teleport white. And we're going to remove the delay because we're going to be testing things. So with all of that set up, by me spawning in and clicking this yellow lamp, I should be able to respawn in the new location. So quickly, I'll jump into the lava, and I'm respawning here at the starting point. But if I click this lamp, it's going to spawn me over here. And it also destroyed that number pad. So I might not spawn right there. Okay, I do. So that was me testing it earlier when I said, hey, I'm testing this. So that's actually very convenient. That also might mean if I jump over there, which I kind of need a ladder. So I gotta make a ladder real quick. Or just a staircase. Perfect. Okay, now we can test this once more. So if I jump in the lava, as one does, you respawn at this location. If I talk to the yellow lamp, it's spawning that number pad right there, where I'm basically telling the avatar, hey, okay, this is where I spawn now. This is the respawn tag. And because it's the closest respawn tag, even though it was destroyed, it still counts. So what I'm curious about is if I walk back to my original spawning location, I'll just walk over it for good measure. So, because in my game, I never set up a respawn tag outside of the one that's being spawned, I'm defaulting to the last one I talked to. It's worth noting that our avatar portal does not have a respawn tag, and the avatar spawner, we don't actually get to add a tag to. Interestingly enough, and this is kind of a fun thing, is you can add the respawn tag to your character. So we can see it's now part of my avatar. I should be immortal. Yep. So now I'm just respawning on top of myself. So you could probably come up with some very cool game mechanics by using that kind of respawn failsafe. So if anybody ever tries to make something like that, do let me know. Yeah, escape room presets, I agree, escape room artists. Did I just say escape room presets? Just in general presets. But again, welcome to the show. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them. I'm here to help. And yeah, this is the Sandstorm Meetup. If you guys are watching this after the fact, so after our live show over on the YouTube, thanks again. Hi, welcome. I'm Halfdork. If you have questions, leave them in the comments. I'll be sure to visit them during the next show. And so, we can now visit the ability to teleport back and forth. So I've set up our yellow teleportation. So now I'll go back over here and we'll walk through that process again. This time, I'm going to set up a new lamp that allows me to teleport back to the white location. So we'll do speaker. And when I interact with this speaker component, aka this lamp, I'm sending out the message teleport.white. So as we know, that's going to kill the player. So that specific message is thus received by this lamp, which we'll go ahead and hide because it's a message broadcaster. We're not interacting with it. But when that white message is received, it's going to kill the avatar. Sounds like the plot to like Nickelodeon's The Last Airbender. We have to kill the avatar. And so now I need to set up that same asset spawner mechanic. And so because we can't attach any settings to the behavior or component of our avatar portal, we're instead going to make a new one, a fake one. So this one we'll never see, but we're going to do that same logic where there's no collisions and it's an asset spawner. So again, in the asset spawner, and this time we're doing it for our teleport white. So we're adding a number pad. We're going to hide it under, so negative 0.5, so we don't see it. We'll go ahead and edit the logic here. And so it too, we're going to be spawning, so it's going to have that respawn tag. And we want it to have a health component. And then finally, the only message that will spawn this is going to be our teleport white. And so, just as a refresher, we're going to take a look at the global parameters and make sure your settings are the same. We're respawning at anything with the respawn tag. And so, as we saw, there's only going to be one active at any time. When we teleport to the yellow location, it's spawning one, and then we arrive there, and in that same time frame, it's destroying itself. And then we're respawning to that tag, so the respawn tag. And so as we die, we're sending out the kill message to that respawn tag. So that's allowing us to basically reset where we teleport next. So now we can test this to where, if I teleport to the yellow location, uh-oh. Oh, that's right. I forgot we added that respawn tag to the player. So we do need to remove that. So we did that one for fun. So remove the respawn tag from the player because that'll basically make you immortal. One thing we'll test though while we're in these settings is we'll make this a negative number. So the death delay, when it is a negative number, makes it instantaneous. So we're not playing the animation. So as you saw, I was falling over to die. So now instead, we're not going to see that animation. So I'll talk to the sign. And we can see he just kind of like jolted to the new location. And so that's where the negative number comes into play, is because it's skipping that death delay of an animation. Paul, Life Made Me, welcome in. Apart from collectible equipment, how else can we reward players after they discover an area or complete a special mission? So, I personally, and this is a more advanced mechanic that we could probably look into in a future session, is I was giving the player a 1-up. So, for example, I had a system where if you died, the player died 3 times. And I can actually show you guys real quick. As we're talking about it, it'd probably be more beneficial. But the player could die 3 times before getting the game over screen. And so, when they died 3 times, you got game over. But if you completed side quests, such as this side quest that I'm about to show you that I'm kind of like toying with, you would be granted a 1-up. So that means you could die 4 times. So other ways you could reward players, because this is a great question. I think you could also give them health points. You could give them like a cool narrative piece, like a side quest or a joke. You could tell them, you know, a little bit more about your world and what you're creating. So this is my game, Iron Gauntlet. It's something I plan to approach the Game Makers Fund with as my first Game Makers funded game. So basically there's this little quest hub, and so this green Wizzy over here, he'll give us the quest we're looking for, but I wanted to demonstrate by dying. We get a message very reminiscent of Dark Souls, so I can show you how that works if you're interested. But basically it's a collectible component with a size like 55 text, which is a fun mechanic. And so that's our second death. Yo, what up, Roxy? How's it going? And so on our third and final death, we get game over and that same you died message. So 3 deaths equals game over. A little bit of lag. There we go. Okay. So back in the game, I have a side quest where you can talk to the Wizzy here. He says, "Hey, have you seen my hat? Can a man have more than one lucky hat? Okay, bring me back my hat, and don't wear it if you find it." So there's like a hidden kind of quest, like side quest type feeling here. And so if we were to go and slay this rat right here, which I also added music specifically to this room. Also, this rat can one-shot you. It's kind of a beast. So he drops the hat. And so the important thing to note is there's no identifier of like, hey, you can pick up this hat. But if you're a clever player, you'll pick up the hat and you'll bring it back to the Wizzy. And he'll say, "You found me hat, thank you." And we can see I picked up a little 1-up down there. And so now I can die up to 4 times. So we'll test that. There's 1 death. 2 death. So here's our 3rd death, which would normally give us game over. So now I could die a 4th time. And that gives us the game over. Frederick, what's up, dude? So if we were to look behind the scenes, yeah, this is a work in progress. The final boss is going to be this giant dragon. You might have seen this from Planet Rift. So I look forward to, yeah, keep working on that. And so we can see a little bit behind the scenes. This is complex behaviors, and I just wanted to kind of walk through it real quick as to how that mechanic was made. But I use what's called the ball in the basin method, and I've nicknamed it this because that's all it is. It's a ball that falls inside of a basin. So these are a prison basin asset. So when the ball falls, it's removing these basins each time the player dies. And so every time a player dies, it's basically turning on the next one to then kind of destroy using damaging blocks. So in this case, lava blocks. The next one would spawn pond water, which deals damage. And then finally, the last one would spawn like a specific type of block, like the Metaverse block. But then I also have a rotating for the 4th one. So the 4th basin, as we saw, gave us the 1-up, the extra life. It rotates into place to prevent the ball from falling, but also follows those same mechanics as to spawning damaging blocks when the player dies. And then lastly, with our feathers, and they are feathers, but this is what you pick up when you die. It's a size 375 display name, color blood red, where it says "you died." And so when the player is, killed or falls off, this respawns on the avatar based on a specific message. And so I have it chronologically where if the player dies 1 time, it sends, this message. And then these messages are all following a specific basin. And so the basins were catching the ball as it fell. And if you were to die 3 times, basically the ball hits the ground. When the ball hits the ground, you get defeat, aka game over. Cool. So I'm gonna go and save this, and we'll head back into our teleportation map. But yeah, if you guys have questions, I am more than happy to answer them, as well as, provide, my own insight and feedback. I'm no professional. Well, I take that back. I guess professional, by definition, means you've earned money doing the thing. So I guess I'm a professional. So if you guys have questions, I'm a professional. So back to our Sandstorm map. We're going to set up our remaining teleports. So we'll make the other teleports, make sure they're all working. And then we're going to work with NFTs and trying to add custom NFTs into your map. So a lot of people like to present their NFTs, and so we're gonna make like a very simple gallery. But before that, we're gonna test our teleportation. So let's see where we last left off. So we have our instant death. If we talk to the lamp, we spawn over here. And if we talk to this lamp, it doesn't appear to be speaking any messages. I think I understand why. So we have a message broadcaster that we already set up. And so we can see the radius, the yellow, was not wide enough to kill me. So it's sending out a kill message. However, the broadcast range is still only 10. So we want to make this cover the whole map. And so 100 should basically cover every corner. So now I can be killed from across the map. So it appears as though I respawned here. So I'm going to double check and take a look. So we want teleport yellow. So this particular lamp, when we interact with it, it's sending out teleport.white. And so for debugging, I'll often fill in this text to display. And so teleport.white is thus going to kill us based on this message here, which we already set up. So it's sending out that kill message to the avatar whenever teleport.white is received. I'll up the broadcast range just in case. But we want our asset spawner to spawn a new respawner when that same message is received. So let us give it a try. So an important thing to note here is because I'm spawning so fast that it's not always destroying my teleporter. So that's why you can see me having to click this once or twice. So to fix that, we don't want to associate the message sent on death to be with the player. We may actually need to attach this message, this kill message that is literally killing checkpoints, so that we can respawn where we need to. We might need to associate this with a different number, or we use the 0-second death delay. So by using the 0-second death delay, it's giving my character enough time to destroy any other teleports. So we can see I was able to destroy one there. So if I talk to this again, it'll now spawn me in the correct location. We can see that kind of puff of smoke when I respawn. That's the respawn location being destroyed. And so by doing so, that puff of smoke there, it's allowing my character to have a new respawn elsewhere on the map. And so it's preventing me from having multiple respawn locations, pretty much. This gives me goosebumps. Yeah, Roxy, I hope you're able to incorporate this into your games. Teleporting is a very useful function when you get it right. The first couple times I used teleporting back in January and February of this year. So I'm still relatively new to the sandbox, if you put it in perspective. But teleporting, when I first started using it, I used the wrong method. And so what I'm showing you today is like version 5.0 of how I use teleporting. And so hopefully this will help one of you. So because we want that instantaneous death delay, I'm going to also set up a second kill message. So rather than have the player send out this kill message, I'm going to send a kill message to a kill switch. Kill.switch. We'll use that. And so this is me adding a mediary or a secondary way to destroy all of my respawn locations. And so this is something I'll often do to create like a brief delay in some of my mechanics. So we're going to have a resetting health component that has the kill switch tag. So whenever this intermediary dies, it's going to send that same kill message, which we previously set up, but on a short delay. So as we saw, I'm removing the delay from the character, so the character will not fall over and die. So as we saw, 0-second death delay is fall over and die. Instead, we're going to have the character on a negative delay, so there's no fall over. They just instant die, instant appear elsewhere. And so that's what this red asset is for, is creating that extra delay so that we can kill. So we're sending out a kill message specifically to all respawn tagged assets. So now our kill switch, which we'll just double check, make sure this tag is covered. So it's sending to tag kill.switch. Cool. So now whenever I die, it's going to be instant. And when I teleport elsewhere, it's instant. And that's where this red lamp comes into play. Because it has this health component attached to it, I'm still able to die instantly. And then that does the work of telling the game, like, oh, okay, he's dead. Let me send out a new message. Any questions? Roxy, when I learned teleporting, what I did was put 4,000 points in a game. Oh, geez. That's too many, Roxy. But hey, that's how you learn. So now that I've set up this lamp, I can hide it, because we don't need it anymore. And we also have our teleport white as a way to go back home. So we can choose, the next location. And so because we set up our yellow, this is basically a marker. This is telling the player, like, oh, this is checkpoint yellow. So I'll even have this with a speaker component that when it detects the player, it says, welcome to teleport yellow. And then with our white marker here, we can further, the immersiveness by adding like an indicator. And the indicator will remove the display name and instead say interaction. Go home. We'll remove any quests or anything of that nature. And so now if I approach that asset, it'll say, hey, I can go home. Over here, we're going to make that same setup. This time, we're using teleport green. So this will be our speaker component that just says, hey, welcome to teleport green. And so we'll walk through that same process again. I'll start from scratch rather than duplicate it. The white remains the same, so we already set this one up. But basically, when we interact with this white object, it sends out teleport.white, which, as we saw over here, spawns our number pad, which we hid underneath the default one, because the default starting point we cannot adjust. I was able to make a fake one. So the default, we can't adjust anything. But on the fake one, I did all the same things, but this one is tied to teleport.white. And so if we wanted to teleport to the green one, we'll now set up a new lamp. So teleport green will be the message spoken when we interact. So we'll do teleport.green. And back over here, we're going to start from scratch, making our spawn point. We're going to give it an asset spawner. we're going to remove the default offset and instead make it spawn underneath our little location here. And it's going to spawn our number pad. And so the number pad is going to have that respawn tag, and it needs a health component. That way we understand it can die, it can be removed, and it can be respawned without any problems. So these are literally the only two things we need with the tag and the component health, but we also want it to spawn on that teleport message. So teleport.green. So with all that, this should work. So let's go ahead and test it. So I'll go from yellow to white. And now we'll try to green. Back to white. Back to green. Back to green. So one thing with messages is they have an auto hide delay. So we can see it was waiting 5 seconds. Generally speaking, if you're interacting with an asset, 0 seconds. Especially if you're testing it, much like I am. And then back to white. And then back to green. And back to white. Back to green. Back to white. Yellow. I said yellow. Uh-oh. This one also has the 5-second delay. Is there a way to not see that mini explosion when the avatar or asset dies without hiding it underground? So, fantastic question, Roxy. I want to show you how I would approach it to hide that specific explosion. So instead of a health component, it's as easy as this. We remove the health component, and we add a plant behavior. So, the reason why that is by default, a plant behavior, so we'll give this sign a plant behavior. By default, message to destroy is kill. So we already set up a way to kill. I think it was attached to this one, yep. So we can send that same kill message, which is by default, the health and the plant behavior. So plant behavior, health component, both of those respond to the kill death message. The big difference is health components have like a brief delay. Plant behaviors are removed. It's like a animal eating grass, which is the most common way you'll see a plant behavior being used. They don't explode. Like grass doesn't explode when the plant or when the animal eats it. So instead, a plant just kind of disappears. So we can see, because of that default setting, we can now attach that to all of our asset spawners. So we go into the asset spawner, we remove the health component, and instead add a plant behavior. So over here, again, we're just removing the health component and adding the plant behavior. So this is if you don't want the explosion. So we'll try green. And so now we don't see any explosion, but it still works just the same. Cool. Thanks for lurking, Ice Pilot. Hope you're doing well. Alright, so the last thing we'll do is set up the red teleporter. So speaker, welcome to teleport red. And so this is when it's detecting the player. I'll also just name it. I didn't like how these were named. It's important to note when something speaks to you, it uses whatever name is attached in this top blank. And so we'll have our asset spawner. that spawns the number pad. The number pad itself is going to have that plant behavior, as we saw. So both plant and health components work the same way for this mechanic. The message required is going to be teleport red. And it needs that respawn tag, because that's the default respawn tag. Lastly, we'll change the offset, and we want to hide it underground. So the asset itself, unless you make like a literal 1 voxel asset, is going to be seen. So that's why I hide it underground, and the player still spawns above it, so it's not a problem. Lastly, we'll add our white lamp so we can go back. Great, let's test it. Oh, I didn't add a red lamp to teleport to. So then we'll make our third location speaker component. When we interact with it, 0-second delay, teleport red. And with this one here, I'm also going to remove the delay. Test it out. Go to red. Welcome to teleport red. And so one thing to note is because I respawned there, that was the last alive respawn tag. So that means if I die over here, it's going to spawn me at the last respawn tag. That's important to note for whatever game you're making. It's also a great checkpoint system. It works about the same. So again, if I die right here, it's going to spawn me back at red. Cool. Great. So we're going to move into the last part of our segment today. And that's going to be working with NFTs. Woo! So the first thing we're going to set up is just a very brief way to make a frame in VoxEdit. So first thing you'll do is you open up the animator. We're going to make a control node. So these are the things that you'll learn, especially watching Panda Pops. So with the control node, that allows you to have a ghost that can move an object without the object itself being affected. So that's the main purpose of a control node. Then you have your object itself, which will have its own node. We're going to make a new asset. This will be a frame. And this frame we're going to make maximum size, except the depth will be 4, and the frame height will be the same as the maximum. So 256 is the maximum you can make in VoxEdit. We'll make a nice brown frame. We're going to fill the space, and then we're going to remove the first, maybe, first 2 kind of voxels here. So we can see I've already removed 2. We'll add 1 more back. So we've got 2 voxels that are missing and 2 that are here. So now what I'll do is I will attach a line segment, so using the line tool here, and we'll go along the outer edge. Oh, VoxEdit is taking a dump right now. I think I clicked too fast for VoxEdit. There we go. Oh man, VoxEdit crashed. How awkward. Well, Okay. Oh, it's just... I came back and I'm like, oh, let me just click the same button again. And then it crashed again. Oh, 24K, what up, dude? Okay, so we're basically making a frame around this asset. I'm trying to, do it. But it is frozen right now. Okay, so we're making a line here from point A to point B. I guess we'll skip the frame. It's just not wanting to cooperate. So instead, we're making a tooltip selection here, bottom left. So if you see here, there's a tool called the frame selection. And so we're going to select the entire frame, or the majority of it, just for this test. And we'll see it creates this green highlight. So what that allows us to do is paste a picture on it, so an image. And so we'll see how that interacts. So we'll go ahead and save the frame. And then we'll drag and drop the frame into our animator. One thing to note is I had not centered or offset. So in order to center it, you'll want to click this button, right click, set to center, set to floor. Save. Okay, Vox said it. You take your time. And so with this frame ready to go, we'll save it and we'll export it to the marketplace. So it'll take a brief moment here. And I got an error. So, just hopefully following along, you don't get that same error. And we'll just imagine that my frame appeared. Wow, look at this, I already made one. It's kind of like one of those cooking shows where they're like, and then you let it bake for 50 minutes, but luckily you don't have to wait 50 minutes, because here it is, already pre-made. So, with our NFT already pre-made, we're gonna hop back into the game maker. And so what's going to happen is you'll bring your frame and we'll place it somewhere neat. Let's just go to the opposite edge of the map over here. And we're going to pick out our frames. So I've got NFT frame 128 and 64, so a smaller one. So both of our frames are going to be up against this wall. And so they have that same image display. So if I were to click them and go into the add components, we can see by default it had image display, but for today, we're gonna work on NFT image displays. This one, we can check out the default image display, which you can use any of the predisposed like thumbnails or pixel art that the sandbox provides. But for our purposes, we're going to be trying some NFT images. So here's what I want to show you. And it's very simple, a little bit of a... It can seem daunting, it can seem complicated, but it really isn't. So you'll go back into VoxEdit. And so for your VoxEdit creation, you're going to be wanting a thumbnail. And so most people will use like Light Tracer or Blender to get like a really cool export or model. And so what we will do is we'll go back into VoxEdit. I've got my model here, Half Dork, who's going to strike a pose. He's going to be happy. So here's our Half Dork striking his pose. And what we can do is we can click this button, which saves a screenshot. and then I can open that folder. And we'll go now to Opensea. So on Opensea, this is where your NFTs, specifically for this purpose, so an NFT image in your game, you'll want to create. So you'll go top right, create, and so this will bring you to this menu, create new item. So we'll go ahead and add an image using the one that we just made of my happy orc. So this will be happy orc. You can add an external link, so if anybody clicks on this, they'll see a link that goes to your profile page. So twitch.tv/halfdork. Half orc, half happy. Aw. Collection, I'll add this to my Halfdork Studios collection. And then you can add properties, levels, and stats. These are the things you'll often see on, random NFTs. And the last thing you'll want to note is you need it to be on the Ethereum blockchain for now. This is simply because of the way the sandbox is currently coded. In the future, it'll be able to read and show your Matic assets or Polygon. But for now, in order for it to be showing up in the sandbox, you need to put it on the Ethereum blockchain. And so this is free to use, free to publish your assets. If you wanted to sell it, that's a different story. So we'll go ahead and tell the website that we're not a robot. Beep boop bop boop, beep boop bop boop. And then it's going to publish our asset for free. Again, I couldn't say this enough. We have just made our NFT for free on Opensea on the Ethereum chain. So now that I have that, I'm going to copy the URL of our happy orc. So this was just a screenshot we took from VoxEdit. We'll go back into the sandbox and we can go to the URL. So NFT image, asset URL, and we'll see if it reads our character here, Halfdork. And we can change the scale, resizing it as we see fit. We can see how he looks on my smaller frame as well. And so this is a great way to add versatility to your games, and it creates a great way to display maybe your favorite assets or images. So now that we've put them in the game, we can see how they look. Man, I have lost some weight. I'm looking thin. But that's just a brief introduction on how to get your asset to be visibly shown in a game rather than just a interactive sandbox NFT. You can use anything that you see fit. So if I were to go to my collections back on Opensea, I made a tutorial as well as a Halfdork T-pose so we could see how those might look in the game. Oh, this one is on the Matic chain. So this goes back to what I was saying. You need to ensure that whatever asset you want to be displayed, and so we can see it's blockchain Polygon, it does need to be on the Ethereum chain or you're going to get an error in game. And so if we go to my block tips, this is on the Ethereum chain, so this one should work. Great. And then this guy we want to repeat. See how that looks. And so now we can see displayed my NFT art. And you can use this for a variety of things. What I've seen a lot of people use it for is wallpapers. So they'll create maybe like a cool castle wallpaper or inside of a building, and then they'll stagger these to cover the entire wall itself. Because it's so crisp, so it has, that lack of voxelized texture, it can be used for a whole variety of things that you yourself as a dev can really come up with some cool creative uses. Like I've seen people use literal like forest backdrops instead of voxelizing them, or clouds and whatnot, what have you. So we're getting to the end of our stream today. Is there any questions you guys might have? And I'm happy to answer some for our next show. But regardless, thank you so much for watching. I hope we were able to teach you something new. Thanks for going through that. Of course, Frederick, I'm glad I could help. Vox Edit was kind of stuttering there, but we kind of walked through the process. And if anybody ever wants to use my frames, you can find them in the marketplace. But we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. We'll see if anybody's currently live. See you, Roxy. Have a good one. We'll see if anybody is live on Twitch. We can drop a raid their way. Looks like Pickaxe Master is currently live. So we'll send a raid their way. Tell them SandStorm Meetup sent you. Copy emotes if you got any. I'll see you guys over in the Pickaxe Master. Should be fun. They often do free giveaways too, so you'll want to watch and pay attention. Alright guys, thanks again for watching. Alright, see ya, bye!